Hi guys, MrRoflWaffles here. I'm today joined by the one and the only Jason Blundell. I've asked you before which you prefer, and you've said Blundell to me.
Well, you know, if you're a northerner, it's Blundell.
But I think
from the south of England, it's more Blundell. I feel.
You say Blundell though in Treyarch pieces and
yeah, it's the duality of my life.
Fair enough. Yeah, you're just like living a life, doing your normal thing, but then there's this path that only you can follow.
Yeah.
It's going to keep on happening.
That was a wonderful little segue in there.
It's got to be done.
Yeah.
So, essentially, the idea here is that we're going to just have a chat.
Okay.
And then in about 10 to 15 minutes time, we're going to do a lightning round.
Yes, I'm very excited.
So, for now, let's just talk a little more freely, with a little bit more freedom. I think that might be fun.
Sure, okay, pass.
Starting off with, so one of the things that I was sort of talking to you about the other day, right, was the fact that when you're developing a map, with Black Ops 3, your approach is very different to Black Ops 2, or at least it certainly seems like from our point of view, because you're developing stuff simultaneously,
yes? Yes, absolutely.
And so I sort of wonder with that, does it come with a kind of awkwardness that you're sort of sitting there going, have we given them that bit of information yet about like the chronorium or whatever it might be?
Yeah.
Is there ever a sort of time where you give us something and you didn't mean to give it to us at that point, and then maybe we go, oh right, that's cool information, but we don't sort of latch in, or does that happen?
There's never like I'm giving you something and oops, that slipped out.
Okay.
That doesn't happen.
They're too careful.
No, in that type of way. What sometimes does happen is, let's say we put something in, and I see the community, or my guys tell me that the community's going to grab hold of this angle, and maybe it's not resonating enough, or maybe they've taken it and they're going a certain way. They'll give me a shout, and I'll say, okay, well maybe we're going to hit that beat again, later down the line. Right. Or don't worry, that's only kind of, let's say, one DLC out, so it's okay, because by the time we get to the next one, it'll then connect up. If it's a main one, then sure, I've hit things multiple times from different angles. I never want to repeat myself. I never want to be like, here's the same thing again, but that's happened a couple of times.
Okay, so in that same sense then, would you say that you have got the whole of Black Ops 3 planned out right now?
Yes.
Would you say that you've had it planned out since the start of the game?
I would say I had it planned out just before Origins, yeah.
So just before Origins?
After Mob of the Dead, yeah.
Okay, so was Mob like your way of sort of starting a story, and then if it took off, I guess, then you would be able to...
Yeah. So there was like Mob, and there was a kind of an idea there, the fledgling thing. Oh, train. Second, Buster B incoming. Right. And there was an idea there, and then between Mob and then Origins, there was a kind of really kind of heavy sit-down talk. And then you started with Origins, and then there was another intense moment after that. But in that gap between Mob and Origins, that was where essentially what the kind of stuff you're experiencing now with DLC 2 and then DLC 3, that's where the egg of that kind of started.
Okay, so the skull, for example, of Nan... Do you know how to pronounce it? Nan Sapwi?
I keep on giving you these words to try and trip over the community, so I'm not going to walk into the same trap.
You're literally just picking lore and mythology that is difficult to say, and that's the only reason for it.
Wait till you get to DLC 3.
Oh boy!
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the Cyrillic lettering. It's got to happen. If it's not there, I'm going to be thoroughly disappointed.
Pass!
Brilliant. Lovely. So, would you say then that you had, like, shadows, for example? You knew that was going to be a thing coming up during Black Ops 2?
There was an understanding about the ideas we were introducing you to. That was true.
Okay.
The physical manifestation of that in terms of Shadows of Evil, no. Right. But there would be, hey, it has to convey this. Hey, it has to have all this stuff. Oh wow, that dictates a certain type of map. It dictates a certain type of cast and crew. Like all those things you could be worked out. But you didn't say, oh yes, we're going to have Jeff Goldblum in here, and that stuff's not worked out. But hey, it needs to cover these ideas. It needs to introduce this concept. All that bit's in there.
So you weren't necessarily sitting there going, yeah, this jump scare, that's going to be Jeff Goldblum with a nice little furry moustache, or is it going to be Russman, or is it going to just be a zombie?
It's not. It doesn't go down to that level of granularity, but it'll talk about. Sometimes it will say things like, okay, we need this information, and we think this is the vehicle for that information, but exactly what the rendering of that or the realization of that is will be a question mark.
And so, I mean, with things like, for example, actually that jump scare, right? Is that something that you have been putting in from back then, because obviously with like Mob of the Dead you get a jump scare, with Origins you get a jump scare,
Sure.
you sort of start to see a pattern from the viewer and the player's side. In that same way, you trying to sort of tell a story there. Train, busting
Train.
B. Yeah.
We need like the kind of the dust
No, yeah.
coming down.
Well, no,
this way.
what we need is we need us to fall out of the train and die, and Samantha to laugh, and that's
Train
game
been a
over.
regular occurrence during this interview?
It has been, yeah, but it's fine. We can live with it.
We enjoy it. It's good.
It's part of the
I can use
part
it
of
for
the fun.
comedic effect every so often when he asks me a difficult
He
question.
goes, train!
Even when there's no train.
Yeah, there you go. Like,
just
he'll be
insert
like,
once.
quick, Josh, train, damn it! Start shaking the little shed.
It's the hype train.
It's the
Yeah.
nice, topical. There we go.
So, with the jump scares, is that the sort of thing that you are, in your own weird little way, telling a kind of narrative with? Like, is there consideration there, or is it literally just, let's just put an image in?
I think every technique that we use, and even reoccurring techniques, are then applicable in my mind for moving narrative or story elements. Like, there's something where you'll put in, like, you put a jump scare in, and at first it's just like a fun thing. But then when you're looking at kind of doling your information out, you might say, hey, that thing that's just seen as a benign idea, it actually has a purpose. And that's not just applied to jump scares, that's anything, right? You could look at it and go, hey, there's this thing that everyone's got used to, that means they won't look there for something you want to insert, maybe.
So, I mean, you have, for example, like the jump scare on Shadows, right? It's like Richtford zombified, or the Der Eisendrache jump scare. The Der Eisendrache jump scare? What's going on there?
Pass.
Wait, we got a pass. I mean, I feel like at this point it's kind of a hallmark of your maps.
Okay.
And so the fact that we haven't found it kind of suggests to me that A, we're just being fools. Like a whole.
I would never say that.
Well, maybe not on camera. or it's purposefully being obfuscated for a reason.
Okay.
And similarly, I mean, it's the same with codes, right? It's like the code that we found today, or one of the codes. There are loads of Zetsubo no Shima codes that we've already found and cracked, and it's great. And we're getting loads of really cool information out of them.
Good.
Like Yuri, what's he doing back in the mix? And that's just great. I love it. But with codes that are really easy, it kind of makes me think, okay, this is something that he's relying on.
Sure.
So that he knows that we're definitely going to get this. Because with the
Right.
giant, right, I'm sure, or at least I would question, were you putting those in with the knowledge that they would be harder to solve? The three that we haven't got?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I have obviously an appreciation of what it takes, because every time I put one in, I run the system as if I don't have any advanced knowledge, and then check and go, how would I approach this if this is what I was seeing for the first time? And from that, I kind of give it a scale and say, okay, I think this is likely to be got or not got. And every time I'm watching you guys get through it, it kind of reinforces in my mind, okay, they can do this at this kind of speed.
Okay.
Oh, they're having trouble with that, great, okay.
So what does that scale look like for you?
In what way?
So there's obviously the low-hanging fruit, right?
Sure.
There's stuff like that base 64 cipher on Zetsubo that we've just got. Things like...
That's a freebie, kids.
That's a freebie, right,
Yeah.
exactly. And then there's, I'm assuming, a more intermediate level. What does that tend to... Is that just regular ciphers that are there but maybe require more sort of thinking, or...?
It could be mathematical complexity. It could be how obscure it is to work out the stages of it, let's say. It could be its physical obscurity might factor in. I assume that everything gets found.
Yes.
In that category.
Right, yes, yeah.
The mathematical complexity, the how obscure it is physically, the number of steps to get to the final, end bit, right?
Yep.
That's a kind of key thing. How clear I make like a key.
Okay.
I don't have to give you a key. And
You can scribble the damn thing out if
you
you're
could
doing the
scribble the damn
ADFGX.
thing, yeah. And that elevates it automatically to another place. Like people have this idea that only like modern day cryptographic techniques is what stop people. No, the old stuff from the olden days works just as well.
Yep.
If you don't give away the key, So
Right.
I deliberately give away the key because that puts it in a certain basket in my mind. But even then, there's grades of that, right?
And so, above that, I'm sure there's then this is just really, really hard category.
This is you have a future in cryptographic analysis if
Right.
you're getting this.
Okay,
yes.
and does that tend to be in the finding of them? So, for example, let's say there's something that is in the map, but it's in the map in such a way that you would only spot it if you were very knowledgeably looking for that thing?
It's what
Or-
I mean. I assume so. When I kind of break it down in my mind, I assume that there's a point where you have all the assets as raw assets, right? However you get there, right?
Right,
I
yeah.
assume that point. So I never put anything and I go, oh, I'm going to completely rely on the fact that it's hidden with this dark shadow across it. You'll never
Yep.
find it because I assume that you'll get all the raw stuff sooner or later from someplace.
Rightly so.
But it does influence where I kind of start it off in the categories. But it never is the ultimate like, oh, they'll never find that one. It's got a shadow on it. That's never the thing that defines the end point of how difficult something is.
But then there are the ciphers that we will never find, right?
There are ones that are what I would class in the impossible category, which are.
Okay. Is that above the future in
that's above,
cryptography?
yeah, that's above hard. That's now there's a level of obsession that you'd have to be putting in.
Okay.
I
mean, would you put the ADFGX there though? Because
No.
No.
No, I
So
wouldn't.
would that be even in the hard category?
that'd be in the hard category.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there any others that you know that? I mean, this is probably a bad question, but any others that you know that we found that are in the sort of hard category or approaching the impossible? Train coming. How useful?
Send another train. Are there other ones that are in the hard category? Absolutely.
that we've found?
I see. Here's the Achilles heel for my for this situation. I'm not following you guys close enough to say every
Right.
single one of your ones. Whether you've got it, not got it, or whatever. There is a level of abstraction, and I like the level of abstraction, which means that my team is seeing it, the team's getting it, and understanding what's going on. But I'm one step removed.
And do you think that therefore allows you to maybe almost sort of play with us a little more because you're not too worried about the...
I think so, and I think
Yeah.
that's a good thing. Like I think if I was too closely connected to you guys, I think there'd be a danger of the tail wagging the dog. It would be too close, and then I think if you were to feel aggrieved, you would probably be right about that because it'd be just too close. That connection would be too close. But the fact that I've got a gap there means that I can keep something on pace and then get influence to move one way or other. But I'm not just attached to you by the hip.
So that makes your life easier, I guess, as a
And harder.
And harder. And,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
What do you reckon the hardest thing that you are required to do is in terms of the development of the game? Like, is there a thing that just it comes around every map or whatever, and it's just unbelievably challenging to get right? Is it like an emotional note that you want to hit or that sort of thing?
That's
or?
definitely a key thing. I mean, you start off with a map and you're saying I want this kind of vibe. Well, that's a bunch of art, right? That's an ethereal thing that you're trying to define, right? You say
Ethereal.
I want.
Ooh.
You're saying I want to get here, or I want the person to get there. But you've got all this stuff that you're having to load into a map, and every time we make a map, we're going into a place that we don't know how to do it. And you have to do that as a developer, as a development team. You want to go to dangerous places that you don't all know the answers, because I think if we did, it would get stale and get boring. So every time we start off and we look at it, we're saying, okay, we want to get this feeling, or we want to have this kind of movement in the experience, or hey, we're going to have claustrophobia now, but we're going to have this as a release, or this thing we want you to scare, but this thing we want you to feel satisfied by. And you're basically trying to turn a whole bunch of emotion, like imagine like a word cloud on a page.
Sure.
You're trying to turn all these words into some sort of physical manifestation
story.
that has a bunch of sliders. Geo itself, I mean, is the infinite problem, right? You can have anything anywhere, but only when people are playing it and you're watching it do you realize, like, yes, it's doing that to them. And people can't even normally describe whether it is doing that to them or not. They just get a feeling out of it. So that's the thing that's really kind of difficult and also incredibly enjoyable to do.
I'm going to completely change the subject now.
Yeah, go for it.
I noticed you said manifestation. Let's talk about manifest. So Nero says manifest a fair few times, just
Sure.
in his lexicon, it's there.
Sure.
Interesting thing about that word is that it's one of the very few actual codes that we can input into the menu right now.
Okay.
There's a little screen where you can type in a couple of letters, and I believe manifest gives you some weapon kits or something in the campaign.
Okay.
What's the deal with that? As a train comes past, I can't believe it. It's great. Let's just pause momentarily, just deep breath.
Please don't edit that out. That was fantastic.
That's staying in. Is that your answer?
Was it? Yeah. What is my answer? My answer is yes. There is a keypad there. Yes, words can get typed into it.
And
which is nothing. I'm basically telling you nothing.
Nothing at all.
Nothing at all.
The terminal itself actually is really interesting, right? So right now, I feel like the terminal's really unexplored.
Sure.
That's the impression I've got from the community, at least. I might be wrong about that. There could have been someone out there that's done a whole thesis on the damn thing.
Yeah.
But there's some stuff in there that's really quite odd, right? To do with, I mean, there's some Morse code, and it translates to talking about a red scarf.
Yeah.
I can't believe another train is coming right now. It's just, this is going to keep happening.
You kind of lured me in with the easy questions, and you've just stacked up all the hard questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
While the train schedule increases.
Yeah. So, I mean, with that messaging, right? With the Morse code and the red scarf and going to, I believe it's like a market in Belgium, like a Sunday market, something like that. Really weird stuff, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I am eternally fascinated by what the hell that is. I mean, maybe off camera I need to ask you whether I should be booking a train to Belgium right now to like actually go visit the damn place.
Should we go?
I'm down.
Activision's probably got some tickets. We could probably.
They just happen to walk in like, well, you win.
It's going to come in
like,
from off camera. We'll take this.
Yeah, in that case, we're going to Belgium. But
See you later, kids. We're off.
Yeah, I do wonder with things like the GK Nova 6 briefcase drop. Were you privy to that at all? Was that
Yeah,
okay.
Black Ops 1, yeah.
Right, so I feel like something again like that would be really cool, right? We had the viral campaign that you've done, which I'm presuming you had quite a heavy hand in. Not a heavy hand makes it sound like you were heavy-handed.
No, I mean, there's many elements in Treyarch that kind of work on this stuff, and obviously they'll take the balls and run with it. But what we'll do also is we'll have approval on it and check it and say, okay, yes, this is thematically correct. And, hey, maybe go more over here because we've got this thing over here.
Right.
So
Okay.
Put those bits in.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just wonder with things like the stuff that's in the terminal, are you angling it differently to the sort of, for example, the ciphers that we get in Zombies? Obviously, they're Zombies related, right?
Yeah.
Is there a different approach when you're thinking about implementing stuff that might be related to the campaign or things like that? Or are you in the same headspace and thinking, well, ciphers are ciphers, same categories, let's go?
So I think the campaign in Black Ops 3 is challenging narratively on lots of different levels.
Indeed.
And as such, it really was. I took the opportunity to really kind of tell quite a bizarre story, quite a twisted story. Because that was the natural extension for me. Like the Black Ops 1's narrative campaign was man corrupts man, and then the second one was man corrupts machine.
Yes.
And then the third one is machine corrupts man. So it was kind of and so as soon as you kind of realize that and go, okay, that's where you have to go. You have to embrace quite a lot of crazy ideas. Excuse me.
And crazy robots as well.
And crazy robots. and
very much
so
part of it.
while doing that. I think I was able to tap into that aspect, which is different to what we do in Zombies, I feel. So, yes, the same guys behind it, but I think there's a different mentality going on.
Okay, so ultimately, the takeaway from that is that I should be going to Belgium as soon as possible to investigate this man with the red scarf.
I cannot control your travel plans, Milo.
Right, no. I mean, it seems like you have done here because I'm going to Belgium, so... But, I mean... On the topic of those sorts of things, right, the like ciphers and codes that we haven't found, one of the things that you said in a video before the game actually came out, Black Ops 3, was that there's an unsolvable Easter egg. And we've talked about the fact that there are impossible ciphers and stuff like that.
Sure.
Is there, in the sense that there are impossible to crack ciphers?
Yeah, I could give you a one-time pad and then you're screwed, yeah.
But are there similarly... I mean, we would try. We'd give it a shot.
Yes, you would.
Hopelessly, but we would try. Would you say that there are also impossible to solve specifically Easter eggs that are not necessarily a code or a cipher? Or does it get to a point where you can't really sort of draw a distinction between them?
Yeah, I mean, there's some stuff I would say that it had a deliberate purpose behind it, but it also is wide open for interpretation, because I think that's something that I felt was important for the community as well, that there's multiple angles you can take on something. And so, yes, you could say, well, that's impossible to solve. You know, to go back to the campaign, to make that link for a second, I've seen multiple theory videos talking about it, and it's great, because they sometimes justify and go places which, yes, that's not how it was laid down, but I love it, because I love the problem solving and the working through and saying, okay, and this is now this, and then that must be that. And I'm like, That wasn't true in my mind, but it's interesting how you justified that. That's fun.
Does that happen much in Zombies as well, like these days? Because you've got such a clear plan.
Not these days, not right now, no. Some of the early stuff, you know, when you talk about, you know, the hate way back when, there's things, there's a lot more there. There's absolutely a lot more there. Nowadays, especially because I've said that, you know, by the time we get to DLC 4, I want to put brackets around this kind of content, the 8-year story essentially as one big whole. There's no novelty one-off maps, it's all one big whole. I'm telling a very deliberate story. So there's less kind of like, hey guys, whatever you think, there's less of that in there. And it's more directed in terms of, because I need to connect all this stuff and then wrap it in a certain way.
And speaking of, what's afterwards?
You haven't got to DLC 3 yet.
No, yep, I'm asking the question. I'm going there.
Let's just wait, stare blankly off into the distance while we wait for another train to come by.
One's gonna come right now. I mean, because... Is that a train that I'm hearing? It may well be. I'm gonna ask the question anyway.
Yes.
So, it does feel, and... Let's just sit this one out. They're not even going to be able to hear it in the recording, and they're going to be wondering what. Well, no,
you have to now insert a train sound over the top, like
the bus route. Yeah, there
like
you
the
go.
Thomas the Tank Engine sound goes by.
It's going to happen.
Just before you kick off again.
Yes.
Like we're good, but we're probably going to have to wrap it up soon.
So lightning.
Yeah.
You're not going to go into the lightning round because you're going to do that on camera, right? As in the other camera. When are you doing the lightning round?
Now.
Oh, you're doing it now?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Oh, okay.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah, but you better get going then, because that's going to be a lot, isn't it?
I mean, with yes, no, or pass, I think that we're okay.
Okay, I'm going to stare into the camera and you just ask it.
Okay, fair enough. And let me just, because it's going to cut out at 30 minutes. Hold on. Your serious face. Got it. Thumbnail sorted.